Gratitude. Gratitude. There's 3,000 of you now. 3,000 subscribers to my channel. Why don't you turn to your neighbor, turn to your left, turn to your right, and say thank you for being a fellow of the Brotherhood of the Hair Loss. I mean, to put things in perspective for me, February of last year, I had finally hit 1,000 subscribers, and I was so happy about that. It's been less than a year, and now I'm 3,000, from 1,000 to 3,000. It's such a big deal. I'm so happy that you have decided to be part of this community. What I want to do today, I want to just kind of psychoanalyze some of the comments I got on a video, just because I really do learn so much from reading the comments. It's funny, just imagine if you were in my position. When I regularly started making these hair loss videos, it was about 2 years ago, and I didn't know anything about hair loss. And I just started paying attention to these comments and reading them back and making videos about them. And now I know all kinds of stuff. I've invented all these theories about hair loss, and we're apparently learning that this rosemary oil is at least working for me. So I owe it to all of us to make sure that I'm paying attention to these comments. So I want to pay attention to 13 months of rosemary oil for hair loss, where I finally admitted, okay, I think the rosemary oil is working. So let's start with this comment right here. How about with a good friend, Email Brink? He says this, quote, interesting findings. A suspicion that's brewing in the back of my mind is that you have always perceived your hair loss to be worse than it actually is, and now you're getting more and more in touch with the reality of your Norwood status, which is an improvement to your previous perception, and you're crediting the rosemary for that. To me, your hair simply looks like it's got less oil in it than it did a year ago, making it appear somewhat thicker, end quote. And I have to say, that very well could be. I'm always looking at this from every angle. What if nothing else, it's the appearance that my hair is thicker based on some artificial, superficial things I've been doing aside from the oil. For example, I remember a couple years ago making a video talking about it'd been years since I used a comb. Well, now I always comb my hair, and thanks to Maxwell Smart, I've learned for my hair product to use water-based, not petroleum-based. So even something like that, and the fact that now that I don't work in that office anymore, I'm not outside, you're not seeing sunlight in my hair as the wind's blowing it. It could be a lot of things like that. I don't know for sure, but it's enough for me to think I'll at least keep using the rosemary oil. If I'm the guy that's proving, in theory, that it's working, I might as well keep proving that it's working. But yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of things. And the fact that I misdiagnosed my Norwood status, for sure. Now granted, you're seeing my hair in the best of lights, in the best of situations. This isn't one of those videos where I'm pulling it back and showing you all that. If I made this video 2 hours ago when I first woke up, you know, I could make this video, look how bad my hair loss is, because it have the rosemary oil, which makes it clump together and that sort of thing. So I think we're always going to be having question marks on this, which honestly is always how it's going to be. I'm not a professional. This isn't a professional study. It's a very real study, which therefore makes it unscientific. So I'm always open to new theories on this. I think I could just as easily say, yeah, I think it's working, as someone else could say, but what about all these other factors? And I could say, yeah. I think ultimately it's enough for me to keep using the rosemary oil, not for the sake of I'm trying to save my hair, but just for the sake of trying to continue to prove anything I can about this rosemary oil. And from a perspective that I'm not selling anybody anything, which is funny because I laughed. I actually LOL'd. I laughed when I saw, here we go, from our good friend Stormy Ascent. And he says this, quote, Nick Shell has been hired by rosemary oil companies for over 2 years as an undercover promoter. And all of this has led to this moment he can innocently market the product without raising any suspicion. Tinfoil hat intensified. I love that. That's great. To which Emil said, quote, you're so right. His master plan has finally come together. And then Craig Westenberg says, quote, he said in this video that he doesn't endorse rosemary oil. He even second guesses himself in the video. Nick is only in this for the YouTube money, not for the promotion of any particular brand or product. I love those comments because I love it that you are learning me that well. You're knowing me that well. Because, first of all, you can joke about this with me as far as, like, the whole tinfoil hat thing, this conspiracy that all along this was part of a plan. Like, that's funny. I love that. And then I love, like, Craig, he knows me well enough to know that when you strip everything away, I set out to become a YouTuber because I wanted to make money. And that's why I do the Rosemary thing. If you'll notice, I've noticed, most of the most popular videos I do, I just put rosemary oil in the title. If I really wanted to exploit this thing, at least once a week I'd put rosemary oil in the title. But I don't want to just that to be my one thing. So yeah, it helps me make more money just by putting rosemary oil in the title. I know that. But I want to actually help people as I'm growing this channel. So that's why I'm talking about other things as well when it comes to hair loss. So there we go. I thought that's a lot of fun. We'll never really know if rosemary oil is working or not. And there's a good chance that my misdiagnosis of myself has a lot to do with it. The fact that I'm using a comb, the fact that I'm now using water-based pomade, the fact that you're not seeing me in the sun and wind. You know, all of these things can come together and it ends up being a mystery. Some movies are that way. It's like a really good movie at the end, you don't really know. I guess like Blade Runner. Was he really, you know, one of those robot killing machines, or was he a real human? You know, you get to decide at the end of this. And that's kind of the position you get to be in. If nothing else, it's entertainment, right? It's entertainment to try to figure out, this guy I'm never going to meet in real life, is he really onto something? Or has he simply just figured out better ways to manage his Norwood 2.5 diffused situation? And maybe that's something we need to consider. Forget about rosemary oil. If nothing else, here's something we've learned. Here's something I've learned. If you start to notice some thinning, start to notice your hairline go up, if nothing else, here's the takeaway. 2.5 inches on top. Of course, I know I need a haircut, but I had it down to what, a 2 guard on the sides and the back. But I want to make sure that I still look enough like the picture when my show airs on February 20th on Lifetime this time next year. I need to still look like that picture. That's why I'm not cutting it too short right now. I got to be ready for that promotion. But anyway, 2.5 inches on top, guard, number 2 guard on the sides and the back. Use a comb every day after I get out of the dryer. Make sure it's dry. Use water-based products. And that's kind of all of those things together. If I were to do all of those things and not do the rosemary oil, we may be looking at the same image right now. I don't know. I don't know. And at the same time, like I said before, what if I stopped using rosemary oil? But then what about the vegan thing? I can't discredit the fact that I'm a vegan, and that very well could have some effect on this. So there's so many variables. All I know is all of these things coming together make this happen now. So no one's ever going to know for sure, but I can feel okay with that, because if nothing else, grow your hair out to be 2.5 inches on top, keep it short on the sides and the back, use a comb, use water-based products, and see where that gets you. If nothing else, start there. And if nothing else, that's what we've learned.